Okay, Herbert, it's Tanya outside in, Perek Lamed. Um, Chapter 30 is not very in line with 2025 psychology, um, as we're going to see immediately. Oid Zeus. Now, on top of this severe kind of breaking down of who we are, that the cracking of the identity we went through in chapters 20 29. Yuda, if you want to save her, there's a Tanya up there, up at the top there. No, in the middle thing, top right. There you go. Page Lamed chapter 30. After this kind of this character assassination that we've been through, that we took ourselves through in chapter 29, now the Rebbe comes and gives us some more advice. And yeah, you'll okay, let's see what he says. Oid Zeus. Now also put Yasin El Liboy. Put this to your heart. L'kai Maimer Razal, what Chazal said, V'havev shafo ruach bifnei kol ha'odem. See yourself as being shafo ruach. Anyone has a translation for shafo ruach? Lowly of
Humble in spirit.
be humble. Is that what you have a translation there? It says humble as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
See yourself as less than everyone. Imagine that. Imagine being told that. See yourself as less than everyone, as opposed to what we're told in our generation is see yourself as more than everyone. No, see yourself as less than everyone. I was thinking about this today actually, and I think this is a very, very good avoider. Is when you're walking across the street, you do as coming from chutzpah, you do this automatically, yeah. But this is not the automatic situation in Israel. Is you should rush across the street and wave to the person, and in your mind, be thinking to yourself, who am I to delay this person? Who am I to delay this person? Let me quickly get across the street so the guy can go. That is that is a expression of a person who's have a shavuot b'fnei kol ha'adam. And just a very important point in this is a mission in Avos, yeah. And we know that there's a klal in Chazal that ha'adam is the Umoy Sa'olam, and Odom is Bnei Israel without the hay. Yeah. So Odom in the Rebbe's in the Rebbe's Pirkei Avos in the Siddur, it says have a shafar ruach b'fnei kol Odom. In Tanya he brings kol ha'odom. He steps out of his nusach. He's dafka saying, see yourself as lower than every human being. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. That's what a low person says. A low person doesn't mean he's not thinking, oh, I'm lower than you. We're well past that. You're not thinking about ourselves like that. You're not comparing yourself. That'd be ridiculous. That's ridiculous to compare yourself to somebody else. That's mad. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about thinking that I'm lower than you, like I'm less, you're more, you're great, I'm pathetic. It's just I'm here to help. How can I help you? I'm here for you. I'm here to serve. What can I do for you? It should be in front of every single person. Even the lowliest of the low. Yeah. והיינו, על פי מעזר, אל תדנס חברך עד שתגיע למקומו. Don't judge a friend until you get to his place. כי מקומו גורם לו לחטוי, להיות פנססוי, לילך בשוק כל היום, להיות מיושבי קרנויס. That this guy who you're seeing, who is the lowest of the low, well, how could you be lower than him? Yeah, you have to remember that it's his place that causes him to do the Averas. Yeah, that why? Because his parnassus in the shuk. and he's spending his whole day going from place to place, and he sits on the street corners. Ve'ein of royas kol tivers, and his eyes see all of the tivers. V'ayim roya v'halev choimed, and his eyes see, and his heart desires the yitzay boya katana boyarum oife, and his lave burns like a baker's oven, yeah, very very hot. Why? Because he sees all the things. I had someone telling me before about how he's going through some nisyonis in the Department of Kedusha, yeah, and he can't like, and it came out that he's looking at all kinds of bad stuff. Yeah, well, obviously you're going to end up with crazy and out of control tivers in Bris Kodesh if you're looking at stupid things online, if you're looking at trafe things online. How you, well, that's ridiculous to think that you could do that. So he's just saying the eye sees and the heart goes out. כמו שכתוב, "הוישה הוא בוער כאש להבה, מה שאין כן מי שהולך בשוק מעט." Now, there's another kind of guy, it's not the case of the guy who is talking about you in this case, who doesn't go out to the shuk so much. Roivim Yoshe B'Beisai, most of the day he's sitting in his house. V'gamim hoylech kol yom b'shuk, and even if he's going out in the shuk, yachol liyoy she'eina mechumam kol kach b'tivo. He's not like such a passionate, hot person. He's a more relaxed, kind of nerdy kind of guy, you know? Yeah. Ki eina yetzer shava b'chol nefesh. Not everybody has the same kind of Yetzirah. There's different kinds of Yetzirahs. Yeah, some people have got very passionate, hot, um, aggressive personalities. And other people are much more water, easy, relaxed kind of guys who, you know, they're not so passionate. They don't have such it's not so difficult for them. Okay, והנה באמס גם me now just as a disclaimer, he says "V'hinei be'emes gam mishu mechumah ma'od b'tivoi." Now, don't get me wrong, yeah. Any guy, even if he's mamash hot by nature, the panasa hu liyos miyoshe kuranas koyom, and his panasa is out there in the shuk all the day. Ein lo yishum his natzlus al chatov. He doesn't have any excuse for his averas. And we call Russia Gummer, and he's called a Russia Gummer. And this is important. This is really the definition of Russia. It's a very agav thing. But he says why? Al asher ein pachad elokim leneged einav. That is really the difference between a Russia and a Benoni. Is to the Benoni, the Rebbeinu Shalom is real. Now there's different madrigas of real, but to the Benoni, remember the Benoni is a Russia who just never does Nevera. He acts like a tzaddik. Why? Because to him, the Rebbeinu Shalom is there and he's looking and he says to himself, I mean, I would like to do that, yeah. But how can I do that? He's looking right at me right now. He's looking right at me. Whereas the Russia says, I would like to do that, and you know what? If the Russia knew that he was being watched, yeah, he couldn't do it. No one could do it. How could you do? How could you know? It's like a man having an affair in front of his wife. You can't do such a thing. Couldn't do such a thing. I just a side point. My Rebbe, Rev Faber, just to describe to you his Ruach HaKodesh one time. I was going, we're going camping with a bunch of guys a couple of years ago, and I have a neder about smoking weed. And that's what we for maybe coming up to 7 years now, I think. And so I called him up and I was like, Rebbe, can I be Mavata Neder and just smoke weed for this one day with my friends when we go camping? And he was like, sure, no problem. I was like, wow. He says, as long as you'd be okay giving your wife away just for one night. I was like, but that's so unfair. How can you just say that? He said, I don't know how I didn't. That just came out. He was marveling at himself for saying that. That like stopped it in its tracks. He said, for sure, no problem. As long as you feel comfortable giving your wife away, just for one night. Just one night. Anyway,
But is that the Ruach Shus? The fact that he doesn't have Yiras Hashem? Or is that what allows the Ruach Shus to come
that's a really good question. A great question. I'd love you should write an essay on that. I could argue that both ways. Don't know. Great question. But either way, to the Benoni, the Rabbeinu Shalom is real and he's watching it, and there's madrigas and madrigas of being watched. But to the Benoni, he's looking at you. So how can you can't do something against him in front of him? Yeah. Whereas the Russia, he's not that real. So you get moments where he's not real. He's not real. Remember, that's Beginner's suffix. When there's a suffix, that's a malik. When there's a suffix, yeah, just the slightest suffix, the Rabbanu Shalom's real, yeah, then you can do the Avera. What's the remez? What's the remez to the level of suffix that you need to do an Avera?
One dot.
Yeah, go on.
The difference of how you read it.
So for Parshas Amalek, for Zohar, we have it's either Zeicher Amalek or Zecher Amalek. And they redo it. They say it twice. It's a suffix in the Kriya of the Zeicher. So it's either Zeicher with a Tsere, two dots, or Zecher with a Segel, three dots. That's the suffix. One dot. The teeniest dot. And that's why when you see on the toilet cleaners, it says 99.9% of germs this thing kills. That is an infinite difference from 100%. Infinite. So, and by the way, just to finish the thought off, that I think is nice, is the word zecher. I'll say it quickly. We look at as Yidden, the atheists believe that Hashem created the world. Yeah, and then left it. You might say, oh no, they didn't. They do. They call it the Big Bang or the potential field or whatever they call it. Yeah, that's called God, who doesn't have anything to do with the world. Yeah, just a different way of saying it. So the atheists believe in a creator, but not in a manhig. They believe in the boire and not a manhig. If they say, oh, there's no creator, yeah, there is the stardust or the quantum fluctuations. That's your God. Yeah, that's called boire veloy manhig. The Ovdei Avodah Zara, a mamin and a manhig, but not a boire. They don't have any convincing argument for where it all came from, but they believe in all different kinds of powers. So we say that Hashem is boire u manhig. He is the creator and he is the manager of creation, the supervisor, the runner. Yeah, he runs it. So those two things Merames in Chazal in Torah Bichlal as Masa Bereshis and Yitzias Mitzrayim. So in Shabbos we have Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim, that's the Zecher that there's the suffix in by a Malek. So what's the suffix in? The suffix is in if Hashem is manhig. If he's the manhig, that's the inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and the fact that there's a suffix of a dot between a tseir and a sega in the word zecher, which is bechina zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim, yeah, that is the that is where the suffix is chal. If you have one teeny drop of suffix, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is in charge of every single neutrino in this world, yeah, then you're in trouble. That's all he needs. He need all a Malak needs is that you have a suffix of one hair on a neutrino is not under Hashem's control. You know how big a neutrino is? Nor do I. But it's really, really small. Yeah. And if you have one suffix that a hair in the nose of a neutrino is not under the auspices of the Avodah Sholem, yeah, then that is the Pesach. That is the Pesach for every bad thing. So anyway, so that was a side point that the Rebbe says the reason why the Rosh is called a Rosh Hashanah is Asher al Asher Ein Pachad Elokim Neged Einav. He doesn't see the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's not Metzias to him. Ki haya loy is ape v'limshu al ruach tavasa shebeliboy mibnei Pachad Hashem. Haruach kol ma'asav. Kamosh gazav ki hamoyach sholid alalei b'todasoi. He says everybody is chayav to behave like a mensch. As we've said many, many times, the Alter Rebbe expects behavioral perfection from you. He expects that you're not going to do any Averas, Machshava, Diba, or Maisa. He doesn't expect that your inner world is completely aligned with Elikus. He doesn't expect that from you. That's the avoider of the Tanya. But he does expect from us that your nature, that your behavior is in line with God. Why? Because of because you were created with your mind ruling over your heart, which means, just like we've said endless times, you're about to do that thing that you always do that you know you shouldn't do. Someone jumps out of the closet with $1,000, says don't do it, and here you get $1,000. Yeah, done, finished. Time is gone. Poof, like a puff of smoke. You take the $1,000 and you go and buy your wife something nice. Yeah, and we're finished. So the Rebbe says, like, what? Oh, you're prepared to not do the Avera for $1,000? Yeah, well, why do you need $1,000, not the Avera? Just don't do the Avera. It's worth much more than $1,000. Okay, but be'emes shehi milchama gedola va'atzuma. So really, the avoida of the Beinoni is a milchama gedola va'atzuma. It's very stark avoida. Lishbo hayeza boya ke'eish lahava mifnei pachad Hashem. Kamoy nisayan mamash. That's the avoida of being a yid. Is you have to fight. You have to fight tooth and nail. And by the way, I'll add this. This was a chiddush I had the other day actually. Is why does it say what's the pasuk zeyas hapecha? Yeah, that you're gonna eat lechem b'zeyas hapecha, the sweat of your brow. Yeah, hapecha is actually really your nose to think about it, but they say it's your forehead. Yeah. Why doesn't it just say like with hard work or with sweat? Why dafka sweat of your brow? Gabriel, you thought about that? It's a good question, though. Why not just you have to work hard to earn money? Why the sweat of your brow? My whole body schwitzes. Why doesn't it just say, but avoid the kasha? Michael, yes,
Does it reference like worry?
That's good. Okay, maybe. I was just thinking something that could be for sure. I was thinking of something different. I was thinking that, like, working hard doesn't mean you earn money. You can run up and down stairs all day long. You can lift weights all day long. Yeah, you can go out to the field and just dig endless holes. It's not going to get you parnasa. You have to work you have to work hard with your mind. That's how you earn money. You do have to work hard, but it has to be with seichel. Has to be with seichel. So I'm just that was the he's talking about the Muhammad Gedola, and so I'm saying you have to work hard, but what I was trying to add is you have to have strategy. You have to have strategy against your Yetzer Hara. I'll just tell you now, I've been struggling for years with my eating with sugar, yeah? And I don't want to tempt the Satan, but I'll say it, the Toelis of the Tzibur. I came up this year. I decided this year, that's it. I'm waging war. Like this is war. Yeah, I've waged. Believe me, I've waged a lot of wars with this Yetzer. But this year, I was like, that's it. And I came up with this idea. I sat down, I wrote the whole thing out. I'm not going to show you too detailed what it is, but it's basically a plan of the whole year. And the default day, if you look, I mean, you can see all these yellow, there's all these yellow days. That's the default, all these yellow days, yeah. That is no sugar. Yeah, according to my, that doesn't allow, I allow fruit. I have a clear thing, like no chocolate or pastries or uh, candies or sweet drinks, etc., etc. Yeah, cookies, etc. And no eating after 8:30 p.m. So that's the yellow. That is, I mean, that is 90, more than 95% of the chart, yeah. But what I did, which I think, which has made all the difference, and this again, this is called strategy. I've given myself a bunch of days chofshi. I can eat what I want when I want, yeah. Like Erev Yom Kippur, the first, all the Yom Tovim, couple of days of Hanukkah, 2 days of Purim, Lag BaOmer, Shabbos Mevorchin, yeah. So I gave myself all these things, and I gave myself 5 wild cards. And I'm telling you, this is the first time. I'm about 2 months in now, and it's the first time where I've done so well for 2 months. That's called strategy. Like I've given myself these, like next week is Shabbos Mevorchin. So that's, I call that a sugar Shabbos. In my house now, Abba has a sugar Shabbos. So the girls go out and they make all can, and then we bring in more candies. That's Abba's sugar Shabbos, yeah? So this Shabbos, which was the Ufruf, was not a sugar Shabbos, and it was the Ufruf. So there was all kinds of stuff and candies everywhere and whatever. And I tell one of my kids, that's it. I'm giving him what I'm gonna, I've already used 2 of my wild cards, so I'm going to use one of my wild. And I didn't in the end. I managed. I got through. I didn't use a wild card, and I'm just trying to. I'm letting you into my own little world here, but I'm just telling you that this is what it's about. Is strategizing. Work out what you've got to fix and come up with a strategy and don't just daven to Hashem that he's going to save you. He wants you to use your brain. He gave you a brain. The way you're makadish your brain is by strategizing. So most of us don't strategize for anything, yeah, but some of us strategize for business, yeah. That's some of us. I would say probably 10% of business people genuinely strategize. Yitzi, you think that's a fair enough? Something like that. Most business people do not strategize, yeah? No, you see, agreed?
Yeah, I mean, strategy is the whole art of a successful business.
Yeah. So it's a handful of entrepreneurs and businessmen who genuinely strategize, yeah? Um, I don't particularly strategize in business. I used to, but now this month I have a little bit, but I don't care really enough anymore. But anyway, but put it into your avoidance Hashem. Strategize, work it out. Let's work out. What are you fighting against? What are your weaknesses? Where do you always screw up? What is it that gives you koyach to not screw up? And think about it and put it down on paper and take a time out and sit down with an Excel spreadsheet, a pen and paper, and use the Chat GPT. He'll help you as well. He's pretty good at stuff, and come up with some kind of Yitzi and me. Yitzi, you're still holding with the Mishnayos, yeah. So it's hard, yeah. And I'm telling you, if I hadn't come up with, there you go, if I hadn't come up with this idea of this daily thing, yeah, there's no way I'd be able to do these kinds of projects. If you're just like learning a parak a day, yeah, you don't remember if you did that and you missed the day. How are you going to catch up when you've got a sheet in front of you where it's all clear and you see now that you're 2 days behind and you have to catch up and you're getting dragged along? That's like an amazing. That's called strategizing. That's called using your mind and your goof, as opposed to just like that hardcore kind of white knuckle kind of approach, or the let's just daven to Hashem and it'll be okay kind of pathetic approach. Yeah, use the kalim that Rabbi Shalom gave you, play the rules of the game like he wants you to do clearly, and take control. And then you'll see. So that was just a side point. Okay. V'hilkach tzrich kol adam Therefore, every man, lefi ma shehu mekoymo medreigasei ba'avodas Hashem, wherever he's holding his avodas Hashem, lishko v'livchoim ba'atzmoi, he needs to make an accounting in himself. Imhu oived Hashem be'erech, if he's serving Hashem with a value. Ubechinas, sorry, be'erech ubechinas milchama atzuma, with a value and with is he fighting? Are you fighting? And again, that doesn't just mean that you're puffing and panting and going like that the whole time. It means are you in the tent? Yeah, like strategizing. V'nisayin kazeh b'bechinas v'asei tov. Now he goes into some examples. So in regards to v'asei tov, kagoin, but avoidus a tefillah b'kavana, lishpoich nafsho lifnei Hashem. In regards to tefillah, are you pouring out your heart, lishpoich nafsho, the pouring out of your heart, lifnei Hashem, b'kol koichoi mamash, al ad mitzui hanefesh, until like the wringing out of the soul. And waging war with the nefesh of Bahamas, shaboy hamoinim hakavana, that stops you from having kavana, b'milchama atzuma. Are you fighting him with a great war? Ulevatsham, lekososam, and crushing them and grinding them. Ka'ofa, koidem tefillah, shachris v'arvis. Are you crushing him and grinding him up like offer before tefillah? I wish I knew what the Rebbe was trying to just tell us there. I don't know what that means, but it sounds amazing. Are you grinding him up and smashing him down before tefillah shachris? Yeah, every day. V'gam b'shas tefillah, and also the time of tefillah. Legiat summa v'yigias nefesh v'yigias bossa. Are you really pushing yourself? Kamosha Kaza become about Arichas, as we're going to explain later, but Arichas, Perek Mem Vav. V'chol shloi higia l'day midazu, and if you're not doing this, if you're not waging a bitter war against your goof, which means again, it means with the energy, but also with a strategy, yeah? You have not come to the Madrega of perhaps this guy who's this schleppy guy, yeah, this Baltaiva guy, because maybe although he's screwing up, yeah, and he's doing avers that you would never dream of doing, maybe that's just a fraction of really what he wants to do, and he's actually holding himself back in so many ways. Yeah, maybe that's the case. So until you're mamash really pushing, and you know, I'll tell you this, and I know this for sure, is that if you can break out of your comfort zone, and by the way, this doesn't mean that pushing hard means that you start ignoring your wife and you start locking yourself in a room and learning. It's the opposite. Somebody who's really pushing hard probably spend much more time with their wife than somebody who's not pushing hard. Spend more time with their kids. Spend more time with the community, with helping other people as well. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you lock yourself in a room and do tanesim and sigufim. Yeah, but the more you push, the more you break out of your goof, the more you become your own source of inspiration, because you're not being limited anymore by the fat goof. You're not limited because now the goof he's not who you are, because you're constantly smashing him. So you're not limited by him. So compare your neshama to your goof. Which one's less limited? Yeah, and then you become inspirational. Forget to everybody else, but to yourself. And that means you push further and more, and it's just an upward spiral. Like we said, the game is rigged. You always have to remember that. That's one of the most important things that I know. The game is rigged in our favor. Yeah, the minute you pull yourself together, the minute you mamash start taking responsibility, yeah, you're good to go. You're just gonna go up and up and up and up and up. The game is rigged. Keep that in mind always. V'chein be'inyan birchas hamazon, v'chol birchas hanenin, v'hamitzvahs b'kavana, v'ein tzrich lomer mitzvahs asay, v'kavanas mitzvahs lishman. And then also, what about giving yourself in birchas hanenin, and when you make brochas, yeah? Exert yourself, make a geshmaka brocha. Don't make a brocha mochalim, as my kids joke with, yeah? A brocha mochalim is, you get that, yeah? Brocha mochalim shekol iva. Brocha mochalim. Yeah. So don't make a bracha machalim. And learn a little bit about what the word atah means. Learn a little bit what the word Hashem means. What's the difference in Baruch, Atah, Hashem? What's Elokeinu? What's Melech HaOlam? Understand a little bit. Research it. Look it up. Work it out. Yeah, and then, at least for the brachas in the morning. Yeah, I know it's hard when you're running around. Yeah, when you Shakol or Brei Piyadam or whatever it is. Yeah, or Shei Yotzah. Yeah, even though Shei Yotzah is probably the most heilig of all the brachas. But Birchas Hamazon is mamash mitzvahs d'oraisa. Think about when you're making Birchas Hamazon. These are the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is his poem. This is one of the things that the only thing we really know for sure that we have that's his words. Mishnah Torah was dictated by Hashem as well. Yeah, it's also with Hashem. But Birchas Hamazon is mamash. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's words. You're connecting to the holiest man that's ever walked the earth when you read the first parak of Birchas Hamazon. And the second parak is Yeshua. He wasn't, he was just a few steps below Moshe. Again, these are all these things that we take for granted. Yeah, just take a little bit of an accounting. And also, by the way, Gavriel, the idea of mitzvah tzrichas kavana, yeah. I realize this. It's not talking about Avin Yira. It just means that you know that you're doing a mitzvah. Mitzvahs don't sricha ava and yira. Yeah, they need the machlokes is if you just bichlal need to know if you're doing a mitzvah or not. It's got nothing to do with the ava and yira, the kavanah of the Tanya. That's a side point. M'chein be'inyan Asik limud a Torah. Learn a lot more than you want to learn. Yeah, according to your nature. Yeah, push yourself a little bit further when you feel like you're gonna, close the safer. Give yourself just that little extra. Say you're gonna learn one more page, you're gonna learn one more Mishnah. Just push yourself a little bit further. A person who learns a little bit more than his nature, it's a small war. The that's not comparable to the kind of fire that a Russia Gumel is dealing with. If he can't be Menatseach, is Yetzer by Hashem. Let's finish the pairings. It's quick. Umali b'chinas sumeira. Umali b'chinas v'asei tov. We were just talking about v'asei tov. What about v'seira? Hakol hi mitzvahs melech hakadosh. Yochid miyuchad baruch. It's all the same. Whether you're pushing yourself to do mitzvahs asei or to not do mitzvahs la asei. What's the hevdel? V'chem b'sham mitzvahs ubefrat b'davish b'mammon. And what about with something like mammon? K'mo avodas tzedakah kai governor. What about the avodah of tzedakah? Not the mitzvah of tzedakah. What about the avoid of tzedakah? Pushing yourself outside your comfort zone in tzedakah. What about sumeira? Yahol kol ish maskil limso benafshay. Every mensch who has a mind, who's thinking, to find in his nefesh she'ena sola gamre me'ara bikol makol kol b'makom tzrich le'milchama tzuma ke'erech hanal afilu pachois me'erech. Now, this is very big. What can you do? How can you be working on the Sumeira? Yeah, and we've said this lots of times, but this is where I got this from. Is you want to say something, yeah, and it's not even. He says also asa, yeah, but a sichana, not something nice, not nice to the other person, yeah. That never hold back from giving someone praise, yeah, unless they think it will be fake. Never hold back from giving something, but just saying something, a quick joke or a quib, some kind of little thing that pops into your mind, yeah, Yeah, hold yourself back. Don't say it. That is so hard. I've noticed over the years my dad does that a lot, where he'll go like this. He'll like go to talk and he'll stop himself from talking. Over the years, I've seen he's done hundreds of times, and that's my dad. You know, he's a choshev secular man who knows that you have to. I'll tell you what. I'll put my dad into perspective. He said to me a few months ago now. He said, we had these old babysitters who a Goyish couple who used to look after us when I was a kid. They were like part of the family, Auntie Tess and Uncle Mike, and they had no children, and they died. They gave us their Yerusha. They had no one to give the Yerusha to. And my dad just we were talking. I can't remember how it came up, and he said, sometimes I think about Auntie Tess and Uncle Mike. I was like, why? He said, because there's no one else thinking about them, so I figured I'll think about them once in a while. What an amazing thing to say, no? I love that. So anyway, holding yourself back from saying something that's a gnoi avadai, but even a sichana, yeah, I feel a gnoi katan v'kal ma'od, even something very subtle. I have to be careful with this because I came from a very cutting, bitter world where we made fun of each other, and it's part of my teva to tease people and make fun and that kind of stuff. And even if the other person laughs and stuff, it's still not okay. I have big trouble with that. Yeah,
It's one caveat. If you hold back a joke, I'm asked to say at a different time, then that ends up taking over your thoughts, and you lose more than having if you just said the joke.
you just said it, yeah.
Yom Kippur, that happened to me the whole day. I was thinking of the jokes I wanted to say about Yom Kippur.
Waited to the end of your kiffers. We're talking about never saying it. Anyway, Avshu MS. If it's a slight gnoy, a slight insult, yeah. Even if it's MS, I feel even if it's just to how do you say lenako, to make yourself innocent? How do you say that? To clear your name.
Exonerate.
Okay, yeah, to exonerate, to clear your name. Nakuzatzmai. Kanoida mehad the Amar Reb Shimon la'aviv Rabbeinu Kodesh, as Reb Shimon said to his father Rabbeinu Kodesh, yeah, Reb Yehuda Nasi. Lav ana kisve ele Yehuda chayta kisve. Yeah, va'amle klach miloshen hara, as it says in Bava Basra. The son of Reb Shimon, of Reb Yehuda Nasi, said they found like this halachic treatise written by a tailor who Rabbeinu Kodesh found a mistake in, and his son said, "I didn't write this; it was written by the tailor, yeah, Yehuda the tailor." And he said to him, "Be careful from lashon hara." It sounds like, wow, this tailor wrote some kind of halachic treatise and said something wasn't 100%. And by saying I didn't write it, it was this tailor. Yeah, even that he said, "Be careful of lashon hara," said Rabbeinu Kodesh. Governor, come on, Mila the Shichach. שליחת זובה בפרט בעניין לקדש עצמה במותלוי שמדיירייסו כמו שכתוב קדושים תהיו וכולי והתקדשתם in things that are permissible. Take control. That's really where the fight of Surmei Ra is in the world of the permissible. Yeah, you want to be matzliach in not doing things you're not meant to do. Yeah, then start not doing things that you're allowed to do. V'gam divrei seifim chamurim and divrei Torah, also the Durabonans. Yeah, ela shekol elu ukayoytze behem hey me'avano she'adam dash be'ekavov. All of these things are the averas that a man treads on with the back of his heels. V'gam nasu keheta machmas she'ava v'shana, and they become like things that are permissible because he does them all the time. Aval be'emes im hu yodeya seifo machzik b'tois Hashem. If the guy's a real mensch and he holds in the Torah Hashem, the Kivas Elokim Yachpois, and he desires Kivas Elokim, Godol Avoinoi Menasoi, Ashmasoi Gedoyle, Bekifle Kiflaim, Bemasha Eino Nilchama Miskaber, Au Yitzoi, Be'ech Bechinas Milchama Suma, Hanau. Me'ashamas Kausha Bekale, Me'yoshri Kuranas V'choike Me'ashem V'swasoi. That your schwachkeit and the fact that you're not fighting tooth and nail and you're not really giving it all in, yeah, that is a good chance that it's less than the guy who is involved in all the bad stuff in the world. Yeah, you can refer back to chapter 15 is the source of all this. ואין השמעסם גדולה כל כך, במה שאינם כובשים יצר הבוער כאש להבה מפני פחד השם. And it's not as bad in that sense as this guy. Yeah, Amavin Umabid El Kol Ma'asehem, the one who looks into his deeds. Ka'ashamas Kol HaKoiv HaKoiv El Hashem, Kol HaKoiv HaKoiv. Yeah, that is one sec, the one who comes close to Hashem. Vel Terasai, Ve'avoidasai Ukamazal. Gabe Acher, it says by Acher, Shiad Bechvoidi, he knew my covered, Ulechain Arazal, Al Amayoris, says, Don is not as lehem kashkagois. They said on the Amaratzim that their Averas are like shkagois. Yeah, where we who know Hashem, and we're in a privileged position to be serving on what appears to be a high level, yeah, then you can't think of yourself as anything special in your avodas Hashem, and that is a direct response, so to speak, to last week's class when we're talking about the Benoni who's identified as being the big tzaddik. Yeah, he's saying no. Number one, you're not a big tzaddik because look at yourself and all the bad stuff that you do when you really break it down. And number two, you have to know that really, even relatively, yeah, you should see yourself as he says, have a shafa ruch b'fnei kol ha'adam. Think of yourself as lower. And again, what that means is not that you're sitting there comparing yourself to him and her or whatever it is you just see yourself in context of I'm here to help. That's the ultimate, or at least I'm not here to hinder. In the worst case scenario, I'm not here to hinder. Okay, that's Perek Lamed. Hashem. Next week, there will not be a class because we have Shabbat Brachos. But Bezrat Hashem. But yeah, it's a starker chapter that. Again, we're in the really hard chapters of Tanya, and you have to take it all, in context. Because there's other chapters where the Rebbe's got his hand around you and he's touching your beard and marveling at just how amazing you are. And there's other times where he says you have to mamash. Yeah.
When you say that, we need to see ourselves lower than other people. At the end, I just want to clarify what that meant. You said that the reason you see yourself lower is so that when you're in a lower position, essentially you're in a helping position. You want to help others. Is that true? Why can't I feel, in general, why can't somebody feel higher than somebody and also help? That doesn't work?
Well, you have to feel responsible for that. I mean, look, the Shamesh in the menorah, yeah? But what's the ultimate creation? Is the Shemesh. The Shemesh gives life to everyone and everything. It's the biggest, it's the highest, it's the brightest, yeah? But he's there for us. Just like the Shemesh on the menorah. The Shemesh in the menorah is the highest, biggest candle out of all of them. And it's just there to be Meshamesh. It's there to serve all the other candles. This is the irony, is if you realize that you're there to serve, by definition, you've become godly. You've become the biggest. So, but we're not thinking about I'm big. He's just giving you tools to be able to kind of serve the other. If you feel that you're greater than another man, then he should be serving you. But in truth, it's the great ones who serve. It's the small ones who are served. Paro was there to be served. Moshe was there to serve. Avram Avinu was going out of his head trying to serve. All he wanted to do was serve.
You reminded me of like the business, plan you had. Like you want to be part of the business. You want to be in.
Exactly. Once you realize that you're in context, then you become godly. That's what Rav Manis says. That's the transitioning from the what you are to the why you are. And now, once you become the why you are, really you've been mechaber to Rabbeinu Shloim, because his kavana is the why you are. Once you've connected to that, now you're godly. So how choshev are you? You're infinitely choshev. You're as choshev as God. Why? Because you're gone. There's no you. There's a Shem's ruts on there now. Kolzman, you're what you are. Yeah, then you're not very choshev at all. Kolzman, you're why you are. You've become an extension of the Rebbeinu Shalom himself. Okay, I have to run. Chazak v'yamatzev.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Mazel tov, mazel.
Is
Mazel
gifts?
tov.
Is there a place to send gifts?
Feel free to it depends how big it is. If you want my offshore Swiss bank account, I can
Who needs the gifts more, the Yona or you?
Yona. Baruch Hashem. Hashem takes care of me. Takes care of everyone. But listen, if you call me, Gabrielle, call me. I'll answer the phone at the Kabbalas upon him. Yeah, call me at it's between 5:30 and 6:30. I'll have my phone on me turned on, and I will try my hardest to answer the phone.
Tomorrow?
It's Wednesday. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, I have to run. Chazak v'yamatzev.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Shkoyach, thank you.
Thank you. Mazel tov.
Oh,
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Shalom.